the hospital had COVID. So you see still about 2,000 people per day are walking in or being diagnosed with COVID. So you're still increasing the hospital population initially by 2,000 people who are testing positive for COVID, but on the other side of the healthcare system, people are being discharged on the other end. So the net is what we talk about, because we've always been worried about lack of capacity in the hospital system, where you pour the water into the glass and the glass overfills, where the hospital system just can't handle the number of people coming in. And that's why we've been studying the net. But this says, you know, take a deep breath. You still have 2,000 people per day who are coming into the hospital system. And the terrible news is as terrible as it gets, and the worst news I've had to deliver to the people of this state as governor of New York, and the worst news I've had to live with on a personal level. Number of deaths is 671, not as bad as it has been in the past, but basically flat, and basically flat at a horrific level of pain and grief and sorrow. This is 671 people who passed away on Easter Sunday. For me, I'm Catholic. Easter Sunday is the high holy day in many ways, and one of the high holy days. And to have this happen over this weekend is really, really especially tragic. And they are all in our thoughts and prayers. That raises the death total to 10,056. Again, for perspective, 2,700 lives were lost in 9/11, and 9/11 changed every New Yorker who was in a position to appreciate on that day what happened. And the number of lives lost was horrific after 9/11, and the grief was horrific. And we are at 10,000 deaths. New York, 10,000 deaths. New Jersey, 2,000 deaths. Massachusetts, 756, and then you have the state of Michigan. Why New York? Why are we seeing this level of infection? Well, why cities across the country? It's very simple. It's about density. It's about the number of people in a small geographic location, allowing that virus to spread. And that virus is very good at what it does. It is a killer. It is very good at spreading. It is very contagious. And the dense environments are its feeding grounds. We learned that lesson very early on. Remember, we had one of the first hot spots in the nation. One of the most intense clusters was New Rochelle, New York. New Rochelle is in Westchester County. It's not in New York City. Why New Rochelle? And that's what I was so concerned about early on. We didn't know what we were looking at. Why New Rochelle? Because in New Rochelle, one person or two people who were infected were in dense gatherings with hundreds of people, and it spread like wildfire. So it's not just a dense city or a dense community. It's any person in a dense environment. You can be in a very rural county. You know, people think New York, oh, it's all New York City. No, we have counties that have more cows than people by population. You can be anywhere. But if you have a person who's infected in a room of 200 people, 300 people, 400 people, now you have a problem. This goes back to the Spanish flu, where some cities canceled parades, other cities didn't cancel parades. We went through these numbers when we had the decision on the St. Patrick's Day parade, which Bernadette still will not forgive me for. But you can have a parade in a relatively small city, but you bring people together, and this virus has a feeding frenzy. Where do we go from here? question of reopening, which everyone wants to do and everybody wants to do yesterday. I am at the top of that list. We have to understand on the reopening, as much as we have this emotion, we want it to happen and we want it to happen now, and we can't take this anymore, and everyone feels the same, it is a delicate balance. Remember what we have to do on reopening. And remember, it has never been done before. None of this has been done before. So anyone who says to you, oh, I know what we should do, I know. Yeah, you don't know because nobody knows. And that's the one thing that we have learned over and over again. And this place has never done this before. Also, you look around the world, you see warning signs from countries who have opened. And my point is to our team, I want to learn from those other countries, frankly. And I want to make sure we know from our studying and assessment of what's going on in other countries that what worked, what didn't work, and let's learn from those lessons. And you can now go back and look at Wuhan province and look at Italy and look at South Korea and see what they did and see what worked and what didn't work. So let's learn. So we'll listen to the experts, we'll follow the data. But remember, this is a delicate balance. What are we doing on reopening? We are easing isolation. We want to increase economic activity. That will happen essentially through a recalibration of what are essential workers. Remember, we never turned off the economy, right? The economy is still functioning. You can get in your car, you can get gasoline, you can go to the grocery store, you can shop. You can get on a bus. The economy is functioning. We never turned it off. We turned it way, way down, and it's just the essential services that have been operating, but the essential services have all been operating. What you will be doing, in essence, on the reopening is recalibrating what is essential, right? You'll start to open that valve on the economic activity, and you'll turn that valve very slowly, reopening the economy, more essential workers, do it carefully, do it slowly, and do it intelligently, more testing and more precautions at the same time that you're opening that valve. More testing so you have more information about who should be coming in, et cetera. More precautions because you know that works as you're calibrating and opening the valve. And while you're opening that valve, watch the meter. What's the meter? The meter is the infection rate. The meter is those daily hospitalization rates. And there is a cause and effect. You have density, you have more people infecting other people, you will see it within a matter of days in that hospitalization rate. So yes, open the valve slowly, advised by experts. Keep your eye on the meter. The meter is the infection rate. And watch that infection rate. And if you see that infection rate start ticking up, which would be undermining everything we have accomplished thus far, then you know you've opened the valve too fast. That is the delicate balance that we have to work through. And that is what has never been done before.